Discover solutions to issues that affect your family and professional life with practical information to help you get past life's adversities. Take a proactive approach to power up your life with Rosalie's expert resources.
Fred Levin had a controversial career as a personal injury lawyer. His most celebrated case in 1993 rewrote the Florida Medicaid Third-Party Recovery Act, allowing the state of Florida to sue the tobacco industry to recover costs for treating illness caused by cigarette smoking. The legislation resulted in a $13 billion settlement for Florida. Fred Levin's work earned him hundreds of millions of dollars and a reputation that brought big tobacco to its knees. Joining us this morning is Fred Levin, the man responsible for saving 100,000 American lives each year, and Josh Young, author of the new book, And Give Up Showbiz. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning, Rosalie.
2014 marks the 50th anniversary of the Surgeon General's first report of the fact that cigarette smoking was unhealthy. Fred, do you believe that you helped shape big tobacco today? And would you fight the industry's new products like e-cigarettes and flavored cigarettes?
Well, to answer the first question, I believe that the way we were able to change the law, it became known as the most significant piece of healthcare legislation ever passed in this country. And I don't think so anyhow. I thought that that was an excellent opportunity to help a number of people. But as far as flavored cigarettes or anything else in regard to going after them for anything more, I don't think it's possible. It would not have been possible for us to pass the legislation that we did in Florida if we had not done it secretly. They're not going to let it happen again.
Fred, you made history when you were inducted into the Trial Lawyer Hall of Fame. What's your perspective today of trial law versus in the past?
When I first started practicing law 53 years ago, as a personal injury lawyer, I used to look across at juries and feel like they were on my side. Over the period of the 50 years, the medical profession, the insurance industry, politicians, they have basically destroyed the practice of law. We did a pretty good job also of destroying it when we, all of the advertising, and that really has, I think, hurt the image of the trial lawyer.
Josh, you have wrote biographies on many interesting people, like Howie Mandel, Bob Newhart, Jim Belushi, and many others. Why did you choose Fred?
Well, Fred is a unique American figure. In addition to the University of Florida Law School bearing his name, he was named National Boxing Manager of the Year. He's the only person who's in the Boxing Hall of Fame and the National Trial Lawyers Hall of Fame. He was named a Chief of the Country of Ghana. And through his work as a trial lawyer, he has really been responsible for sweeping safety changes that have benefited the lives of every American. And in addition, as you can see in Give Up Showbiz, there are very colorful stories about his life in and outside of the courtroom. And it was just too good of a subject to pass up.
In fact, Fred's son, his closest friend in life, referred to his father as a cockroach and a humanitarian. How do you balance the two sides of Fred when writing your book?
Well, one of the great things about Fred is when Fred does well, other people do good. So in each instance, there was always something. For example, with the big tobacco settlement, I mean, Fred made more money than Croesus for bringing down big tobacco. But at the same time, that allowed him to give $10 million to the University of Florida Law School, which was matched by another $10 million from the state, and has made that law school an outstanding American institution.
Fred, you barely got through law school. Do you think the changes in law school admission requirements produce better lawyers and a better legal system today?
When I started, anybody could get in. 360 students started, and by the way, including the first black student to enter a all-white public institution in Florida. And the competition was so strong that 1 in 6 graduated. I don't think you're seeing coming out of the law school now the humanitarian, the guy who is taking on civil rights, or it's just not happening. I mean, these guys, keep in mind, they're all great LSAT scores, and they're wanting to go with the big Wall Street firms, and they're getting paid, $150,000, $200,000 a year coming out of law school.
Josh, do you foresee updating this book in the next few years? Because it doesn't seem to me Fred is ready for retirement.
No, by no means. Fred's going out to California to try a big case in the next couple of months. I think the answer is yes. I mean, Fred's firm, the Levin Papantonio law firm in Pensacola, Florida, is really one of the few places where the little guy can go to get justice against big business. I mean, this is a firm that takes on cases, mass tort cases, and takes them to trial, and they're not afraid to do that. And as they're showing now, being one of the firms that represents the businesses that were harmed by BP, there's a lot more. There's a whole other chapter that's being written, even as we speak right now.
Tell us where we can find more information about Fred and your new book.
So and Give Up Showbiz is available at bookstores everywhere and online at Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com.
Thank you both for joining us this morning, and we wish you much success with your new book, Josh. And Fred, don't give up showbiz.
All right. Thank you, Rosalie.
Thanks, Rosalie.
The battle against cigarette smoking continues, and so does the battle against HIV/AIDS. Recently, thousands came together at the United States Conference on AIDS to build national support networks, exchange the latest information, and cutting-edge tools. Here to discuss the drastic changes since the peak of the AIDS epidemic is Dr. Michael Gottlieb, a pioneer in HIV/AIDS research who authored the first report in 1981 to the U.S. Center for Disease Control, identifying the new disease as HIV/AIDS. And former model and music industry insider Maria Davis. In 1995, Maria unknowingly contracted the HIV/AIDS virus from the man she was planning to marry. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Maria, you turned adversity into advocacy.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about the new I Design campaign.
Well, I'm excited that I've joined Merck's National HIV Education Campaign, which aims to empower people living with HIV to have open and honest conversations with their doctors and their healthcare team. And that was so important to me and really touched me because remembering when I was first diagnosed with HIV in 1995, I didn't know anyone, any women advocating, anybody talking about I'm HIV positive openly because of the stigma and the fear. So this is a great campaign because the focus is individuals that are living with HIV, getting into care and individualizing their care and empowering them.
And HIV is the third leading cause of death among African American women ages 25 to 44.
Yes.
Dr. Gottlieb, what are some helpful tools and resources for people with HIV to use when talking to their healthcare team?
Well, people living with HIV still need a lot of support and information, and that's why the website projectidesign.com is so helpful. It's Merck's National Education Campaign. It's got a lot of tools on it and items that can help people have more meaningful conversations with their doctors. I know that as a doctor myself, it's just very helpful to have people come into the office prepared with a list of questions, a checklist that's on the website, and a medicine tracker so they can keep me informed of everything they're taking.
Is it easier to diagnose and treat HIV today?
Well, it's easier to diagnose and easier to treat, but still about 20% of people living with HIV in the U.S. are undiagnosed. And so the test is simple to take. We just have to encourage people to take the test. Treatment's easier because the medications have gotten better and simpler and with fewer side effects. And so treatment for people with HIV is a major topic, And it's not a situation where one size fits all. It's got to be tailored to the needs of the individual person. And the iDesign campaign also speaks to designing regimens that work and that are compatible with a person's lifestyle so that they can take the medication successfully, because they're going to need to take it for many years.
1 in 5 new HIV diagnoses are women, and women account for 84% of new infections from heterosexual contact. That's huge.
Yes, that's a very huge one.
And many of the women who are infected with HIV are vulnerable from a socioeconomic standpoint, and that's one of their major risk factors for becoming infected.
Doctor, tell us about the CDC's 2015 projection on Americans over 50 years old.
Right, that's where I was going. Come 2015, we expect that 50% of people living with HIV in this country are going to be over age 50, which presents a whole new set of problems. We have to deal with the problems associated with normal aging, hypertension, high blood pressure, sugar problems, diabetes, cholesterol issues, osteoporosis. All of these things come under the diagnosis of things that the medical provider, the medical team has to deal with.
Maria, where can our viewers find more information?
They can log on to projectidesign.com, which is on the iDesign website.
And that's Merck's National Education Campaign.
Absolutely.
Thank you both for joining us to encourage those living with HIV to take a proactive role in designing their treatment plan.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Women express their voices today more than ever, and they're more connected and open about their daily lives. Though 40 million Americans who experience bladder leaks don't want to talk about it. Research indicates many women avoid talking about their symptoms, so it takes an average of 6.5 years to be diagnosed. Joining us to encourage women to have open dialogue with their doctors, family, and friends is medical expert Dr. Marla Shapiro and positive aging expert Barbara Hannah Grufferman. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. How are you?
Dr. Shapiro, tell us about the recent study published in the British Journal of Urology.
Well, one of the things that we learned through studying is, as you mentioned, how common this actually is. In fact, it's 1 in 3 women after the age of 18, and women are surprised that it's as young as 18 that you can actually see this problem. Certainly, aging is one of the biggest risk factors that we see. So we see 40% of women over the age of 40, 50% of women at the age of 70 and older. But the one thing that you've mentioned, which is so accurate, is that women are not talking about this, and they don't recognize that there are so many things that they can do to really make a difference. Women are sitting out doing their activities. It's interrupting their sleep. It's affecting their intimacy.
They're not working out, which is a very key issue for women for their long-term health and well-being.
Yeah, truly, this is a much larger issue than women are actually allowing us to recognize and talking to us about.
Is bladder leaks more common in women who gave birth to many children?
Well, certainly, we see this more in women than men, and we see it more in midlife, and we do see it associated with pregnancy. If you've had a large baby, not necessarily number of babies, but as you know, you can see the more pregnancies you have, but with large babies or a difficult pregnancy, the pelvic floor muscles which support our bladder can get weaker and more relaxed, and that can be part of the issue that shows an increased association in terms of these bladder leaks and sensitive bladders.
Right, and it really does stop women from living their lives. It can really have a damper on their sexual relationships with their partner, and that's really an issue for a lot of women, and they've even stopped wanting to laugh or work out, as I said before. And so really an issue is, are they really wearing the right protection? Because that will allow them to get back into their lives in a very active way. And what's so wonderful is that Always Discreet has in fact come out with a line of products that addresses sensitive bladders and bladder leaks specifically, because in fact 8 out of 10 women are not wearing the right product for this issue.
What are some of the common myths and misconceptions about having a sensitive bladder?
I think one of the most common myths is that this is something that's a natural part of aging, that there's a sense of inevitability or there's nothing that you can do about it. That's one of the biggest myths that we see women, and I think that that's one of the reasons, as you mentioned, that it takes 6.5 years to be diagnosed because women just are not addressing it. And that other myth, as you mentioned, is that any product that's out there is okay as long as it's an absorbent product, and that's not true because
No,
we
it's
know
not true at all.
women want discretion, they want protection, they want something that's going to deal with the outer, and I think that's why we've both partners with Always Discreet, because finally here's a product that can do just that.
Absolutely. We really want women to feel empowered, to get out there and live their lives and really have them feel that this is no big deal. And that's really a key
I
issue.
think it's a key, and I think part of it is getting that conversation going.
Why are women so hesitant to discuss bladder leaks?
Oh, I think, humiliation.
embarrassing
yeah,
for a
it's
lot of
embarrassing.
women.
Women sit out living their lives, or they're worried that if they go somewhere that they don't know where every single bathroom is going to be. So that's a big concern for them. But part of it is that it's only happening to me. This is one topic that truly still remains taboo. And in the age, as you said, of everybody talking about everything and us seeing everything and nothing seems not to be shared, this is the one topic that still to this day is taboo. And women will not talk to their partners about it.
Or their closest girlfriends, which is really amazing, or even their own doctors. I mean, you find this to be true all the time in your own practice.
Absolutely. With 1 in 3 women, and I have a large base of women who come to see me, unless I specifically ask about bladder and bladder function, they won't say to me, oh yeah, you know what, this is an issue. They won't bring it to the table. And this is something that I think you have to empower yourself and be your own advocate and bring it to the table.
So we really want to empower women to talk to each other. And we feel that once one person starts talking about it, then everyone will start talking about it. They'll feel more comfortable. And that's our mission.
Barbara, where can our viewers find more information?
They can go to alwaysdiscreet.com to talk to other women in a very discreet forum, and also to read the articles that Dr. Morrill and I have written about the various topics connected to this. Alwaysdiscreet.com.
There are lifestyle things that you can do, changes that you can make, exercises that you can do. And I think it's important to be able to go to a site that actually gives you evidence-based information and information that's going to be useful to you.
Thank you, ladies, for joining us this morning to encourage women to open up the dialogue on this very sensitive issue.
Thanks, Rosie.
Thank you.
According to the American Cancer Society, 1 in 7 men in the U.S. will be diagnosed with prostate cancer during their lifetime. Education may help patients, caregivers, and family members cope with their prostate cancer experience. Joining us this morning to share advice on how patients and caregivers receive help and support all year long is Dr. Jeffrey Alba and Tom Kirk, President and CEO of Us Two International. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning.
Doctor, how prevalent is prostate cancer?
Well, prostate cancer is the most common non-skin cancer in men, and actually men have a 1 in 7 lifetime risk of having prostate cancer. So there are literally millions of men living with prostate cancer across the world.
What are some of the lifestyle fears that both patients and their caregivers have about prostate cancer?
I think the number one thing patients have cited in the research, as well as the work I do as a researcher, author, and clinician with patients, is they're worried about quality of life issues. Prostate cancer is very survivable. Many men will survive prostate cancer, and so living with prostate cancer becomes about quality of life, and they're concerned about issues that impact quality of life, like sexual dysfunction, bladder issues, pain, things that impact their ability to enjoy their life.
Tom, when a man is diagnosed with prostate cancer, their wives, their lovers, their caregivers really don't know what to do. And the concept is horrific because they think they're going to be losing their intimacy.
That's exactly right, Rosalie, and it's a big challenge when you talk about intimacy and being able to communicate. Men often, of course, we're trained to withdraw and not talk about our weaknesses. We always like to be the strong one in the family. So for wives and adult daughters, you're often the executive of the healthcare in the family. You're often the one who it's important to go with your husband when you see the doctor, because we often panic and we don't listen when the doctor is telling us bad news. So another set of ears and support is very, very helpful.
Any tips to help the family get past the emotions?
I think, Rosalie, you bring up a really valid point. Cancer is not just the patient going through a cancer diagnosis, but it affects the entire family, and certainly the significant other, the wife or partner of that person. And so I think being there for each other and actually together seeking accurate information from the healthcare provider team, as well as from good internet sources, the American Cancer Society, us too, your major medical institutions.
Tom, where can we learn more about coping with potential lifestyle implications of prostate cancer?
On the US2 webpage, which is www.ustoo.org.
Thank you, Dr. Alba and Tom, for sharing the resources to help patients and caregivers receive the support to better cope with the prostate cancer experience.
Thank you so much for bringing this issue to light.
Thank you.
The U.S. government data shows families with an average or lower than median income, which is approximately 1/2 of U.S. households, spends 20% of their disposable income on energy. So how will new EPA regulations impact seniors and lower income American families? Here to discuss this issue is James Martin, chairman of 60 Plus Association. Good morning, James.
Thank you.
James, tell us about the regulations proposed by the EPA.
Well, unfortunately, the Environmental Protection Agency is proposing sweeping new regulations to reduce carbon emissions by 30% by the year 2030. These regulations, without a doubt, are going to increase the price of electricity on every working American across the board, but particularly seniors. They will be the most vulnerable to these increased prices because seniors are living on fixed incomes.
So why should Americans, particularly seniors, be concerned about these regulations?
Every American will be affected by these huge increases. Some are even estimating, some of the experts, that prices could go up by 20% or more. This is unacceptable. Clearly, senior citizens who are living on those fixed incomes, even diminishing incomes, they should not have to choose between food, medicine, and heating their homes, especially with these cold winter months just ahead.
Do you anticipate higher energy costs for Americans?
Oh, absolutely. Family budgets will be devastated by these huge new regulations that they're proposing.
What would you say to those who support this regulation as a step towards cleaner energy?
Cleaner energy has been accomplished to some extent through recent years through technological advances, but clearly cleaner energy is a laudable goal. We need wind, solar, we need fossil fuels, and to shut down coal-fired plants, it will have a huge economic impact. Look, we are the Saudi Arabia of coal. We have more coal resources than the world combined. And so we can provide through coal reliable, low-cost energy. Seniors depend on that, and to shut that down will be devastating for seniors. Quite frankly, these EPA regulations are a death sentence to many.
Where can our audience find more information on this?
60plus.org, that's 60plus.org.
Thank you, James, for creating awareness of the proposed EPA regulations and how it will impact lower income families and seniors.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
How risky do Americans perceive the world around them? According to the second annual Travelers Consumer Risk Index, a majority of U.S. consumers feel that they and their family live in an increasingly risky world. Americans are most concerned about financial risks, identity theft, health problems, and food safety. Joining us this morning is Patrick Gee, Senior Vice President of Claims at Travelers, to discuss the survey and identify the risks Americans feel the most vulnerable about. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
Tell us about the recent study and some of the findings.
Well, on the heels of National Preparedness Month, we've released this second annual Travelers Consumer Risk Index. And it's really designed to measure the types of risks and concerns that are on the minds of Americans in their daily lives. It also gives us an opportunity to discuss ways to manage those risks. We really hope that by identifying these trends, we can help people be better prepared for the unexpected and also live safer lives.
Well, what risks are Americans most concerned about?
Well, it was interesting that 63% of those surveyed feel that their world is becoming riskier, and near the top of the list were, of course, financial and health concerns, and given all the discussion in today's society about those topics, that would be understandable. But also, very interestingly, items like personal safety and technology, cyber risk and identity theft, and extreme weather also polled very highly in the index.
How are Americans working to manage the risk factors?
Well, we think the key is education. We're all so busy. We have so many priorities tugging at us all the time. But if we can set a little bit of time aside every year and think about the risks and concerns in our lives, figure out whether we need to educate ourselves a little bit further or maybe take other action to protect our loved ones and our property, be that our home or our auto or our personal information.
What steps can you suggest to prevent some of these risks?
Well, what's interesting is that let's say we take distracted driving, for instance. 90% of those in the survey felt that they were at risk due to the distracted driving actions of others. Now, interestingly, only 30% of those that were in the index felt that they themselves might actually cause an accident due to their own distracted driving. It was interesting to note, too, that, for instance, with parents, 30% of those parents with teen drivers were not concerned about the teens' likelihood to get into an accident due to their use of a mobile device. So we need to think a little bit about the perception that we have of risk versus whether it may indeed actually happen to us.
So we should be more proactive to manage our risks.
That's right, and taking whatever action, whether it's self-restraint and distracted driving by just not texting and driving, but most notably we think education is key as well. We found, for instance, with severe weather that 2/3 of the respondents feel that the instances of severe weather are increasing in the United States, yet only 1/3 felt that their property might be damaged. We also found that while 70% of the people feel that they have the right coverage for an event if it were to happen to them, in past indexes we found that really only half of the people that we surveyed feel that that they really understand with any level of confidence what their insurance coverage offers them at a level of detail. So we encourage them to speak with insurance agents that they might have, their independent insurance agents, or talk with their insurance company, or come out to websites like travelers.com to learn more about that.
Thank you, Patrick, for offering your advice to help our viewers take the necessary steps to manage their risks.
Thank you.
Life is full of challenges and risks, from illness to disease to increasing our awareness of resources to help us better understand and communicate with our healthcare providers. We all realize the importance of identifying and managing risks that affect our lives. Share with us your proactive approach to better educate you and your family members to manage your risks in life at facebook.com/Rosalie Show, or visit us on rosaliearchershow.com. Remember, identifying your risks in life will help you better manage life's outcomes. Take care, and we look forward to seeing you soon.